Okay, so what would you do if you woke up one morning and found out your entire life was, well, not what you thought it was? Today we're diving into the pretty wild story of a totally ordinary person who stumbles into an extraordinary and honestly kinda hilarious dilemma.
I mean, that quote just says it all, right? It perfectly captures that feeling of pure disbelief at the heart of this whole thing. One day you're just you, and the next, well, things get a whole lot weirder.
All right, so first, let's meet our hero, Morgan. Before any of this royal business, Morgan's life was defined by the wonderfully normal, the super comfortable, and the profoundly relatable. And this is what's so great about this story. This isn't some secret noble raised in hiding. This is Morgan, someone who loves bad movies, is always losing their keys, and whose only throne was a beanbag chair. I mean, does any of that sound familiar to you? But you know how it goes. An ordinary life is basically just the perfect setup for a massive plot twist. And for Morgan, that twist showed up in the most old-school way you can imagine. A single piece of mail that was about to change everything.
That's right, no email, no DM, no text. We're talking a dusty, official-looking envelope that somehow, against all odds, finds its way to Morgan's mailbox. And inside, a secret that's been lying dormant for generations. So the letter reveals that Just Morgan is actually His Royal Highness Prince Morgan of Nowheresville. I mean, can you even imagine? You go from being the king of your studio apartment to the actual prince of a real, if, very, very obscure country.
So yeah, forget what you know about sprawling kingdoms and grand empires. As Morgan so perfectly puts it, this new homeland is basically a suburb with its own flag. A charming, but definitely small-scale kind of kingdom.
So what does the prince of a tiny nation actually do all day? If you're picturing like grand balls and high-stakes diplomacy, you might want to dial those expectations way, way back. The reality was a little more down to earth.
So it turns out the royal to-do list was less about governing and more about, well, showing up. There were parades to attend, ribbons to cut, and, most importantly it seems, an entire festival dedicated to cheese.
And listen, I can't overstate this part. The National Cheese Festival isn't just some small event. It's like a huge part of Nowheresville's whole identity. For Morgan, the master of so-so cooking, this was a particularly weird but kind of intriguing new job.
And just when you think things can't possibly get any more bizarre, you find out about the national symbol. It's not a majestic eagle or a beautiful swan. Nope, it's a really tough pigeon they named the Conqueror. It's these quirky little details that make this story just so good.
Okay, so this all leads to a massive decision. Morgan, who probably thought the biggest choice this year was going to be which streaming service to keep, is now staring down a life-altering crossroads.
So it really boils down to this. On one side, you have the comfy, familiar, normal life. And on the other, this absurd, a little awkward, but definitely unique life as royalty in Nowheresville. We're talking the couch versus the crown. Binge-watching shows versus smiling for tourist photos. It's a tough call, right?
And this is where you gotta pause and ask yourself, honestly, what would you choose? Would you give up your comfortable routine for a totally new life of parades, pigeons, and public service?
So after weighing all the pros and cons, something really interesting starts to happen in Morgan's mind. The initial shock and, let's be real, the skepticism start to morph into something totally different. That little what-if question starts to sound less like a crazy hypothetical and more like an adventure. The sheer absurdity of it all stops being a reason to say no way and starts becoming a reason to say, well, maybe.
And this is the turning point. Morgan doesn't just see a weird duty anymore, but a real opportunity. An ambition is born, not just to lead the cheese festival, but to make it bigger, to take it global. You can almost hear the excitement there.
And that's the beautiful, absurd takeaway from all this. Maybe it's the start of something weirdly wonderful. And hey, even if it's not, at the very least, it's going to make for an amazing story at parties. And it kind of leaves you wondering, what sort of weirdly wonderful story is waiting just one why not away for you?